Today I'm going to solve this absolute value equation. So absolute value equations are pretty fun because some interesting things can happen and some interesting scenarios can come up, especially with absolute value inequalities. Those get really tricky to remember how to set those up. But absolute value equations, let's just talk about absolute value first of all. So absolute value of a number. The absolute value is the distance from 0. So if I take the absolute value of 5, the absolute value of 5 is 5 because I am 5 units away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I take the absolute value of -5, I don't know why I chose -5 and 5. That's kind of a little far from 0. But if I chose the absolute value of -5, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units away from 0. The absolute value tells us how many units away we are from 0. It is not the positive of a number because the absolute value of 0 is 0. We are at 0 if I'm taking the absolute value of 0. So it's not the positive of 0, it's just 0. So I can't say the absolute value is a positive of a number. That's what a lot of misrelay of the definition. You know, if I ask some students that say, hey, what is an absolute value? The response I typically get is it's the positive of a number or the opposite of a number, which, again, not exactly true because the opposite of -5 is 5, but the opposite of 5 is not 5. So that doesn't really check out. Again, with 0, absolute value of 0 is 0. So when we are understanding that concept of, well, the absolute value is the distance from 0, let's keep that in mind. So let's solve for the absolute value. Let's get this absolute value by itself, and then from there, we will work through that. So I'm going to subtract 4. Oops. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. I get -5 times the absolute value of 3x equals -21 minus 4 is -25, but I wrote -5 just now, -25. And then I want to divide by -5 because I'm trying to get the absolute value by itself right now. That's my goal. So I get the absolute value of 3x equals -25 divided by -5 is +5. I'm just treating this like this. I'm solving the equation right now as if this was just an x, just a variable, because I want to get that by itself. That's what all I'm doing. That's the process that I'm following right now. Now that we have the absolute value by itself, now we are able to move forward with this. So since I have the absolute value of 3x, we have to figure out what can x equal in order to make this a true statement. So remember what I just talked about with the absolute value of -5 being 5 and the absolute value of 5 being also 5. So what that translates to is we have to take 3x equal to +5. And we have to take 3x equal to -5. So we're taking the inside of that absolute value and we're setting it equal to the positive and the negative. And I'll show you how this works out. So I'm going to divide by 3. I get x equals 5/3. I'm going to divide by 3 again. X equals -5/3. So why is this true? Well, let's check. If I take these statements, so the absolute value of 3 times 5/3, what do I get? 3/3 cancels out. So I get the absolute value of 5. What is the absolute value of 5? It's 5. Over here, when I take -5/3, 3 times -5/3, 3's cancel out. This is an absolute value. 3 cancels out. So I'm left with the absolute value of -5. The absolute value of -5 is 5. So both of those answers can work because we can take the absolute value of the positive and the absolute value of the negative, and we're going to get back that +5. So both those answers work. So these are both answers for the absolute value equation. X can equal 2 values. This is a really tough concept to understand at first if you're not really strong with what an absolute value actually is. It's hard to understand that, well, you got to set up 2 separate equations. And then especially when you get to inequalities, it gets a little bit more challenging in that too. So hopefully this was beneficial.